Welcome, parents, to our virtual Parents' Night. My name is Mr. Ashline. I'm the instructor for the Electronics and Robotics course. And today we're going to be discussing what the students are going to be learning in class, how you can expect to see the students' Google Classrooms to look, what you can expect from Infinite Campus, and a few other bits of information here. So let's begin. One of the first things that we should really discuss, I would say, at this point is how to contact me. The best way to contact me is by email, which is brian.ashline@nccsk12.org. If you'd prefer a phone call, which is perfectly acceptable, please email me first with your phone number, your preferred phone number, and I'll be happy to call you back. In a normal school year, I'm hardly ever in the office and in front of the phone. This year, it's even less so. So the best way to contact me is by email, and then I'll be happy to give you a call if that's what you desire. So in electronics and robotics, we are really looking at both analog electronics, digital electronics, and robotics. Right now, and for the first quarter, we're going to be discussing atomic theory, where we talk about things like current, voltage, and resistance. We talk about power. We talk about things that are called Ohm's law, for instance. We also discuss transformers, like how we can convert a high level voltage into a lower level voltage, or reverse, step up transformer where we go from a low level to a high level. We talk about different types of components like diodes, both regular diodes and light emitting diodes, LEDs. We talk about transistors. In typical years, we talk quite a bit about sound, and we actually have a project to go along with that. This year, we're skipping the project, but we'll still talk about sounds. Then we get into the digital end of things, kind of like right after that first atomic theory, kind of like first quarter stuff. And we get into things like digital electronics, binary code. We do a lot of C programming in this class using the Arduino system, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. We talk about servos, robotics, lots of different sensors, some wireless transmission of information, and usually we get into little robotic kits, but this year we're going to be skipping over the kits and just focusing on the Arduino kits that I've already sent home with students to be used for later on in this year. And again, we'll talk about those a little bit more moving forward. As far as my classroom requirements are concerned, each day, whether we're in person or for a virtual classes, students are expected to have a Chromebook, which is charged, a class notebook, a class folder, which if they have a notebook in the if they have a folder in the notebook, that's perfectly acceptable. They're also expected to have a pencil, and they need to have a calculator, especially for the first quarter of class where we're doing atomic theory and we're learning about how electrons behave. That's all a very math-based aspect to this course. A graphing calculator or a scientific calculator is fine. Whatever calculator they're most comfortable with from math class is a calculator that they should be using in my class as well. We don't really do complex mathematics in electronics, but we do deal with lots of either really big numbers, or actually more often than big numbers, we deal with very small numbers, like maybe even numbers into the billionth or trillionth of a unit. So when you're calculating such small numbers or large numbers, having a calculator is really important to make sure that our answers are accurate. So my classroom expectations haven't really changed too much between normal years and this year, except for the fact that now we're meeting virtually and there's a few extra things, right? So no matter what, I expect students to be on time to class, whether that's in person or this year virtually. I am something that's new this year and will continue moving forward. I am expecting students to write clear emails. Students really do not have a concept right now of how to write a proper email. This is a big problem for when a lot of communication is happening over emails. So I've already discussed with them things like including a signature, or a subject, and what a subject should look like, having a greeting like, "Hi, Mr. Ashline," or something to that effect. The body should be written in full sentences, and it should include all of the information necessary for me to understand what they're trying to accomplish. And then it should have their full name in the signature. It is, I can't count how many times I get emails from students from a random kind of personal email address that has no name on the bottom either, and I have no idea who it is, what class they're referring to, or how to like really move forward from that. So I say more on that next, but actually I've removed that stuff. But that is something that I'll be looking for from students. I expect that they'll participate in classroom discussions even when we're online. I very much expect that they're going to complete all assignments on time. I have a pretty strict late policy this year to try and keep up with all of the grading and the like online grading aspects, which we're going to talk about later on. I expect that they treat one another with respect. I expect that they make up their missed work. I expect that they seek my help when it's needed. This is particularly important this year, especially with virtually only students, but really anytime we have virtual lessons. So many of my students are choosing not to turn their cameras on during lessons. I have no idea really how they're doing in my class if they don't let me know that they have questions. You know, usually in class I can walk around and like peek over their shoulder and check their work and assess them on the spot. But this year, due to the fact that like it's very difficult to spot check students, those assessments become much more complicated. So it's really important the students reach out to me, whether it's like in a private chat message or to everybody or in an email if they're having questions, so we can set up either a personal like Zoom meeting or maybe just a couple like comments in an email might suffice. But either way, they need to seek the help when they need it. If they wait too long, especially in electronics and robotics, it can start to build up and everything else becomes a lot more difficult if they didn't understand what came before. This course very much builds upon itself as we move throughout the year. Lastly, and again, this is kind of new this year, they're expected to maintain their Arduino kits and the included parts. That involves like not losing different components. It involves like having it when they need it and different points there. So my late work policy. If work is turned in late this year, I really have a zero tolerance policy for that. Whether it's a minute late or a day late, it's going to be 10% off for the first week and 20% off for the second week. I will not accept any work after 2 weeks of being late. It will remain a zero in the book until the end of the quarter. So it's really critical that students are staying up on their assignments and turning in their assignments on time, or at least very close to being on time and getting like only a small deduction. If students turn in their work late, they must also email me to inform me that they've turned in that assignment. They should include the assignment name and the period that they're in when they send that email along to me. And if there's an assignment that was given in class and it's expected to be done by the end of the virtual period, there will be no ability to make it up if it was not turned in. Okay, so this really is turning into a bit of an issue. For instance, if this was in another class, but I had a small assignment to be read, few paragraphs, and 4 questions at the end. It was easily done within the 30-minute of virtual class, but some students chose not to even open the assignment and they went off to like play video games or do, you know, God knows what. In those rare instances, if students don't turn in the work by the end of the period, it will not be counted. It will just be a zero. Okay. And again, that's going to be more for like when I have subs, or it's going to be like if I'm doing spot checking to make sure the students are in class and doing what they're supposed to be doing. But it is something that we need to be a little bit mindful of. But again, mostly it's going to be 10% for this first week, 20% for the second week. I'm already starting to run past my 10-minute time here, so let's go over a few extra things, but I do want to talk about classroom really quick. So this is the Arduino kit that I've sent home. All students have this kit at this point. If they don't, they need to email me about it. But we sent them home, either virtual students got these sent home, or other students picked them up in class. It is critical that students hang on to this kit and all of the parts that come with it, which there's a lot of small parts, because this is going to be critical to like 3/4 of their course this year. I mean, this kit is really going to make up the majority of the second, third, and fourth quarter. So they really need this kit to remain intact for the year, and I am collecting these kits back from them at the end of the year. They should be putting those in a safe spot for right now. So I say here, put in a safe location away from younger siblings, pets, and any other force that might disturb your kit of parts. Okay, my dog ate it is not going to be a valid excuse. This kit does belong to the school. It's expected that it will be returned at the end of the year with the same materials in it. Flagrant misuse of the kit or carelessness may result in need to purchase a new one. You know, if like one or two small things is missing, it's not the end of the world. But if some kid gets mad in class and like just throws their parts out or something completely ridiculous, we may come after. We may ask for it to be refunded. Evaluation for my class, 50% of it's based upon what happens in class, 25% of it is what happens in tests, and 25% of it is what happens in lab assignments. Lab assignments are going to be assignments that are worth, that take like more than 3 days to complete. All right. This year, honestly, labs may get just like truncated by more like classwork because hands-on activities just really aren't too much of an option to be done. And most of my Arduino stuff I don't typically consider to be a lab. I typically consider that to be classwork as well. So Google Classroom. All assignments and due dates are posted in Google Classroom. Grades are transferred from Google Classroom to Infinite Campus regularly. Please, please, please keep an eye on your students in Infinite Campus to make sure that your child is staying up to date in class. I do email home parents when I have like serious concerns about students, but the more that parents can help us out on this aspect, the better kids are going to be doing. And again, I only collect work for 2 weeks after the due date. I do not collect work beyond that. So when we go into Classroom here, and this is going to kind of be the last bit of information that we're going to be talking about, but just so that you, the parents, are aware of how this is set up, I have my robotics classroom. For the most part in the stream, there's going to be very little information posted in here. For instance, the only thing that says here, find the Zoom meeting link in classwork under Unit 0. So when we go to classwork, Unit 0, it all starts here is like all the things that they're going to need on a regular basis. That includes like the Zoom link, the class syllabus, which if you want to take a closer look at the syllabus, you can ask your students to pull this up. It includes a reference sheet that they're going to need every day. And it also includes information on how to get into Tinkercad, which is like a software that we use in class. Then at the top of this, we will always have whatever unit we are working on with the latest work posted on top. So as of right now in recording this, the latest work that students can see is 1.9 breadboard videos and note sheet. In Infinite Campus, the assignment number will be, or the assignment like shortcut will be labeled 1.9 as well, which is correlating back to these numbers. 1 is the unit, and then in this case, 9 means that it's the 9th thing that I've posted within that unit. I will always correlate the assignment number back to Infinite Campus so that you can check both of those things. When students are working on this information, they need to make sure that they are going through and turning in their work when they're done so that I know to check it. Once I move on to Unit 2, which will be a while from now, but I will move Unit 2 above Unit 1, and then it would say Unit 0, it all starts here, and then Unit 2, and it will be digital electronics, and we'll start talking about digital electronics there. Okay, so again, always Unit 0 is going to be on top with things like Zoom link and the reference sheet, and then whatever unit we're working on is going to be directly below that. There will also always be like the grades and what's going on for their grades in their Google Calendar, which mine is a mess with all of my Zoom meeting links, but you guys can check their Google Calendar to see their due dates from there. All right. I've gone over this about 5 minutes here, so I sincerely apologize for that, but I just wanted to get all of this important information across to everybody before we left here. So if you have any questions, once again, please email me at brian.ashon@nccsk12. And I wish everybody a great evening, and I look forward to teaching your students this year. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.